I'm Nancy Hipschman. I'm a managing principal at Sullivan Cotter, and I lead our Division C3 nonprofit consulting group. Sometimes the living wage is pegged to a percent of the household family income, and sometimes it simply means more than the minimum wage. When we use that term here and today, we mean an income that is sufficient for our basic needs for food, shelter, healthcare, and the like. One that gives people the financial independence they need to actively participate in their local communities and to be fully present at work. In other words, it's enough so that a person only needs to have one job. The minimum wage, when it was first legislated into existence during the Depression years, was intended to be a living wage. The bipartisan hope was that a minimum wage would stimulate consumption and restore economic vitality to the nation. And to get that legislation enacted, however, a compromise was written into the minimum wage laws that said they could only be increased through official congressional action and at its discretion. And so for decades, the increases to federal minimum wage were basically congressional rubber stamps. They moved synonymously with inflation, but no longer, and not for the past 40 years. And so with minimum wages stuck in place, the living wage concept was born. It was created as a replacement to do what minimum wage no longer does, which is provide a decent standard of living for full-time employees. And so there's a few reasons why any company should care about paying a living wage. And first and foremost is reduced business disruption. Paying a living wage reduces turnover and absenteeism. Higher wages lead to lower employee turnover, resulting in reduced recruiting and training costs. An analysis by the Center for American Progress estimates that the cost of replacing low-wage workers is equal to about 16% of that employee's annual salary. And if your company has a population earning the local wage, chances are those employees have more than just your job. They're likely working 2 or 3 jobs. So increased productivity is also a factor. MIT's living wage calculator estimates that a single mother with 2 children earning the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour needs to work 252 hours per week, the equivalent of almost 6 full-time minimum wage jobs, to make a living wage. So how employees show up to your job is likely to shift dramatically if your job was the only job they had. There are other things such as reputational benefit. Reputational risk is an increasing concern as investors emphasize living wage, and employees are also organizing around it. There's also cultural implications like organizational pride and loyalty. And all that to say that the living wage is not a fad or the latest HR trend. It's most definitely here to stay. But paying living wage is a shift in mindset. It's about viewing employees not as costs, but as assets, and then investing in those assets.